Last November, voters in Massachusetts approved a ballot initiative to add a 4% annual income tax on people making $1 million or more, right? So households earning $1 million or more would be hit with this wealth tax. And because of that new policy, we're now seeing the impact of, a state or a government having the resources necessary to take care of its people. Because now it turns out that the state's schools, public school system, will be giving children free breakfasts and lunch. It was an incredibly popular and successful program during the coronavirus pandemic, and now they get to implement it permanently as a result of this wealth tax, which gives them the resources necessary to carry it out. So again, it is a 4% tax on annual earnings over $1 million on top of the state's current, I didn't even know they had this, 5% flat tax. Not a fan of flat taxes. Flat taxes are extremely regressive, but nonetheless, at least they're trying to even out the playing field by ensuring that those earning the most are paying a little more in their income taxes for the state. Now, in August, the Massachusetts legislature approved a budget proposal that requires the state's public schools to provide all K-12 students with free meals, making an incredibly pandemic era program permanent. Last Wednesday, Governor Maura Healey signed the budget. The record 56.2 billion fiscal 2024 budget includes plans for spending approximately $1 billion in new money raised through the voter-approved 4% surtax on household income above $1 million per year. A portion of that money will go toward the $172 million needed to provide the free school meals. And education officials understandably have been pushing for this, because this isn't just about taking care of kids who might come from, disadvantaged households, maybe dealing with poverty. This also has to do with learning, because when you're learning or trying to learn on an empty stomach, that makes your performance a lot more, it impacts performance, it impacts the ability to learn. School superintendents from across Massachusetts wrote in a June letter that they view universal free meals as a needed part of education, not simply a nice add-on. So Cenk, it turns out that when taxes are a little more fair and the highest earners are paying more, the state has the resources necessary to take care of its people.
Yeah. So when I was on cable news, I made good money, not that much money, but for about 15 years before that, I was super poor, and so I knew the difference. And when you make good money, the 4% doesn't bother you at all. Okay, so these guys are all making over $1 million. They're gonna be all right. They're gonna be totally all right. They'll huff and puff, but they're gonna sell their house in Massachusetts and leave? No, they're not. Okay, so maybe it happens to a couple people, but it won't happen to enough people. And so, but if you're the blue states, you got to deliver, right?
Yes, thank you. That's the important part of it, because if you live in a high tax state like California, and everything around you is falling apart, right? When the people of California, of LA specifically, voted overwhelmingly to approve additional taxes in order to build affordable housing to actually deal with the homeless population. And the homelessness issue actually gets worse because the local politicians are taking that money and funneling it over to their real estate developer friends who inflate the costs of building. Then taxpayers get real angry and they start fleeing the state.
But what I like about this is that they earmarked it for very specific things.
Yes.
So it's going to go to school lunches, it's going to go to transportation. If people get the sense that transportation improves in obviously in Boston and other places in Massachusetts where they really need the help, then people will be able to see that with their own eyes, right? And if their kids were going hungry and now they get a school lunch, they'll be able to see that with their own eyes. And that's how the government representing the people, the voters, and that's how it's supposed to work. And then that'll make Massachusetts even more blue. So I like the way that this one was structured. And so two more things though. Number one, look at how much action there is in the state level as opposed to the federal level. Like at the national level, almost nothing gets done. So Biden passed like 3.5 laws and people are like, record breaking, how did he do it, right? It's not that much, man. For one president, you pass like The half is the semiconductor bill. Okay, give it to them. 4 laws, right? And so it's not earth-shattering at all. And I remember a time when the government used to function and they would pass laws all the time, and laws that made big difference in people's lives, right? But at the state level, for better and for worse, since they're closer to the voters, like at the national level, the states are the senators are totally unaccountable for, because sometimes they represent tens of millions of people. They don't care about the population at all. All they care about is giant donors that are going to finance their ad campaigns, that are going to trick those voters. But even the congressional districts, 750,000 people per district, you can't keep up with that number of people. Then money allows you to win those elections by doing misleading ads. So then they only serve the money and not the people. But when you get closer to the states, and the more states like Maine that have public financing rather than private financing, it doesn't break towards Republicans or Democrats. It just breaks towards accountability, right? And the closer you are and the smaller the districts are, the more accountable they are, the more nice, good laws they pass. But by the way, on the red states, they're passing laws that we hate, but a lot of their right-wing voters want. So the anti-LGBTQ stuff, the taking away the books, etc. As people on the left, we don't like that at all. But they are being responsive to their voters who are saying, let's just make sure that we don't cover that stuff in school.
So I want to just tweak what you're saying a little bit, because a lot of the positive news that we're getting out of these states like Massachusetts, like Ohio last week, really have to do with ballot initiatives. Right, and so I say that because the wealth tax that passed in Massachusetts happened as a result of the voters in that state voting directly in favor of the wealth tax through a ballot initiative.
Yeah.
And so I give you that to say, looking ahead in the future, wait and see how many of these states are going to have state legislatures who are going to try to make it even more difficult to get ballot measures on the ballot, right? Ohio tried that. Luckily, the voters of Ohio are like, nah, we're not buying it, which is why they voted overwhelmingly against issue 1, which would have made it harder to include ballot initiatives on the ballot. But I think that other states are going to try that out.
100%, guys. And the last part of what I was going to say is that the closest to the voters is the ballot initiatives, because they just get rid of the corrupt middlemen and vote on the issue. And when it gets to ballot measures, then it's not red state, blue state. Because the reality is 2/3 of the country is progressive on all the policy issues. So only progressive issues win pretty much in ballot initiatives. In the old days, that wasn't true. They would pass ballot initiatives against gay marriage back in 2004 that helped George Bush win, etc. But marijuana lost a couple of times in the beginning, legalization. Now, marijuana legalization, abortion, minimum wage, taxing the rich. You just put it as a ballot initiative. All the Democrats are gonna vote for it. Almost all the independents are gonna vote for it. And a nice chunk of the Republicans are gonna vote for it too. Because if we have a democracy, the country is overwhelmingly progressive. That's the thesis of my book, Justice is Coming. You can get it at tyt.com/justice. We'll have the link down below. One last thing. Look, sometimes school lunches are wasted too, because not everybody eats them. For God's sake, whatever's left over, please make sure you're giving it to the homeless or to some sort of shelter or something that helps the poor, so that food doesn't go to waste if all of the kids are not using it. That's all. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.